All right, so let's talk electric in the house. We already took a look at how the electric gets to the house. Now let's talk about internal distribution within the house. So I bought this panel right here. I guess it's a Progressive Dynamics PD404 5KA. I think it's also called a Mighty Mini or something like that. Um, and what it is a three. Sorry, it's a dual purpose RV panel, and what it has in here is a standard um, AC setup for your whatever appliances, stove, the hot water heater, which we have over here, various things that require something other than 12 volts. But it also has this over here, which is the DC setup, I guess that would be. And it has a row of fuses. It takes just the standard sort of car fuses that go in there in various at various levels or amperages, I guess, at which they would blow. But that is the section of the board that is responsible for the low wattage part of the house. So the way I set up the house is that all of the lighting is LED lighting, so that only requires the 12 volts from this side. And then I have, as I said before, several things that run off of this side. Now, the way that it works is it doesn't come with any of these breakers, so you have to buy the breakers. And again, I am not an electrician, so please consult an electrician if you're in doubt. But you have to get these breakers. It's standard practice or good practice to get have the breakers all be of the same manufacturer. And it's what happens is the power in goes into the back here. See all these small wires are basically the 12 volt outs. There's like, I don't know, about a dozen of them or so, and those all run out of the back and are lit up by virtue of having a fuse in here. So the way I've sort of done it up here is I've brought, for example, ceiling and outdoor lights are coming in here connected. Then the negative goes into this bar. Positive comes out of here, and that's basically it. So let's talk about this side now. So power comes in. It goes into this leftmost breaker, the 30 amp. It's 30 amp power. Goes in here, and then what happens is that breaker sits on a rail that connects the three breakers to the right of it to that 30 amp fuse, right? So the power for the 30 amp comes in. Probably can't see it, but it comes in underneath there. The white gets hooked up to that bar. Then there's a ground bar in there, right behind it, and the black goes into the breaker. So what you have then is you've got like a hot 30 amp breaker. Once it's flipped on, as it is in the on position right now, it feeds the other three breakers. Now, the other three, I'm using one of them for one of them is going to be the hot. Sorry, we've got an AC line out for the toilet. I'm using an Incinolet, so that's going to have its own dedicated breaker, 15 amp breaker, I believe. Yeah, I'm doing a 15 for the Incinolet. Then there's a line going out of this which feeds the water heater and sort of the left side of the house. There's just a couple outlets where you'd probably plug in like an electric heater or something like that as well. And then the other one feeds the other half of the house, which is going to be the kitchen predominantly, and there's a induction coil stove there. So that's it. And again, no There's no lighting that comes off of any of these. Now, this half over here isn't automatically connected or fed with power. So what you have to do is you have to take this last breaker here, that 15, and out of the bottom of that, you have to go into this small rail, and that small rail becomes is what feeds the power over here. So that's your connector over there, and you can see the black, white, green there. Those are then also hooked up to these two rails, and then it comes kind of pre-wired for that. But the mystery is that you kind of have to patch this last breaker into this particular piece, and that took me a while to figure out. Otherwise, you're not going to get any power over here. Now, because I'm not an electrician and I didn't want to like hook everything up and then only to find out like I did everything horribly wrong by virtue of their a fireball being emitted out of this, what I did, and I thought this was fairly clever, is instead of hooking in the the service from the pole, I took a standard like kind of surge protector, just cut the cable off of it, and that cable now, you see the wires wiggling on the inside there? I hooked this cable in, and then I just hooked this into an extension cord. So in other words, I was feeding electricity into this board, this panel, just with this. Obviously, this is the short-term solution, and what it allowed me to do is light up the in here, and then individually test the other stuff, as well as test the fact that I was getting able to down convert on this side and get everything to work in that sense too. So it was a real quick and easy way for me to not run all the wires and then hope for the best. It allowed me to just very slowly and individually test each of these runs out, ensure that this was functioning properly, and then emboldened by that, it led me to run the rest of the wires. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to disconnect this piece right here. I think it runs into this part of the rail there, and obviously the black runs into this breaker, as I said, the bottom of that breaker. And then there's a there's the ground piece that goes into that rail. I'm just going to disconnect this, in other words, loosen the screws and pull this wire out, and then hook in the one that again I have on my my test outlet here. This is my ACN cord. So I'm going to strip this down and then hook it into the panel in the same way that I currently had this thing hooked in. Once I do that, knowing that everything works when I plug this in, all my lighting works, I have a really good feeling that everything, there's no reason why it shouldn't work when I swap this out. Anyway, these DC connections, these 12-volt DCs, I used some 18 gauge speaker wire for those, which is plenty sufficient. And the cable runs just basically go throughout the house to where they need to be, which makes sense, right? So over here, this is using standard switches, although these just again have the speaker 18 gauge speaker wire running into them. This, for example, is going to be just going to be a vent here, which is going to be above the toilet, which is right here. That's going to be the exhaust pipe for the Incinolet. Then you have the shower. There's another run that goes over here, this is you know, the sink area. So this thing just terminates up here, so that's going to be like a mirror light. Here's one of the aforementioned outlets. The run continues from that outlet. Over here, there's another outlet behind there, underneath the fold-down table. And it gets a little tricky over here. This is an actual, oh, there is actually going, I kind of lied before. There is some AC lighting. This is one example of that. And that goes over here. It's going to be some AC lighting over the table area. What I'm doing for that is some vintage like filament bulbs and a nice fixture above the table. And ultimately this run terminates up here in the storage area in an outlet. I figured might as well have an outlet up there. But yeah, some of the other DC stuff runs over here into this switch, for example. This is for outdoor lights. I don't know if you can see them. There it is, right there in the porch, the little round thing. They're sort of up lights that are recessed in the porch. And this switch right here, this one's a little tricky. This is called I guess a three-way run. So what that is you'll notice there's no these have on-off designators. This one does not, and the reason for that is that this is one of those setups where you can turn the light on and off here, and you can also turn the light on and off upstairs in the loft, because who wants to come down the ladder to turn the lights off at bedtime? So that particular run connects two switches like this. And there's some great videos on YouTube that show you how to hook something like that up. So that particular run goes through here, here, and then goes upstairs over here. Yeah, it works great. So what that one's going to do is it's going to do all the ceiling lighting. I have one small LED thing hooked up there already, just as a test. But when the paneling goes in upstairs, there's going to be one there, same thing on this side, one there, and then probably 4 above the bed in these long channels. But you can see the wires already sort of pre-laid up there and up there for that. They connect through that little box back there, and then the wire goes off to the right. And what you can't see is way back there on the wall is a switch that will turn them on and off. I also have an AC outlet up there with one of those cool USB sections, so I can just plug a USB cord in there and charge my phone overnight, which is going to be very cool. That other AC run over here terminates here in this GFCI outlet, which is near the sink in the kitchen area. And then there's one final outlet. Oh, here's another AC lighting fixture. So it's going to be one fixture over here and one fixture over there. What was I going to say? Oh, right. And then there's one more outlet back here, and that powers the